What if God is not a being, but an equation? What if every prayer ever whispered into the dark, every temple ever built, every moment a human being looked up at the stars and felt something infinite? What if all of it was real, but we had the address wrong the whole time? What if the thing we've been calling God doesn't live above the universe, but inside it, woven into its mathematics, written into its deepest structure, present in every quantum fluctuation, every collapsing wave function, every heartbeat, every thought firing through your mind right now? Here's what will genuinely unsettle you. The deeper physicists go into reality, the more they find not randomness, not chaos, not an indifferent void. They find order, breathtaking, almost suspicious order, equations so precise they shouldn't be possible, constants so perfectly balanced that if any single one were different by 1 part in a trillion, you would not exist. Someone or something set the dials, or maybe the dials set themselves. And maybe those two possibilities are not as different as you think. Stay with me. Because by the end of this, you will never look at the universe or God the same way again. The most important question in human history is not, does God exist? It's, what if we've been mispronouncing the name? What if everything you've ever believed about God, and every prayer, every cathedral, every sacred text, every moment you looked up at the night sky and felt something larger than yourself, what if all of it was pointing at something real but pointing in the wrong direction, not upward, inward, into the mathematics? I want to talk to you today about the most dangerous idea in the history of human thought. Not dangerous because it's wrong, dangerous because it might be right. And if it's right, it changes everything. It changes what you are. It changes why you're here. It changes the nature of God, the nature of prayer, the nature of death, and the nature of the universe itself. So let's begin. You know what I love about reality? It doesn't care what you believe. The electron doesn't care if you're religious or atheist. Gravity doesn't suspend itself for saints. The speed of light has never once made an exception. Not for a prophet, not for a pope, not for a president. Reality operates on its own terms, according to its own rules. And those rules, as far as anyone has ever been able to determine, are mathematical. Not approximately mathematical. Not sort of mathematical. Precisely. Exactly. Shockingly mathematical. The orbit of planets, the behavior of light, the decay of radioactive atoms, the way proteins fold inside your cells right now to keep you alive, all of it obeys equations. And not messy, approximate, good enough equations. Equations of stunning precision. Equations so perfect that we can use them to predict the behavior of a particle to 14 decimal places. 14 decimal places, that's not just accurate, that's suspiciously accurate. And here's the question that should be keeping every one of us awake at 3 a.m. Why? Why should the universe be mathematical at all? Why should reality obey any rules? Why couldn't it just be chaos? Random, formless, unpredictable, meaningless noise? Why does the universe operate like it was written? That question, right there, is where God and physics shake hands. Now, I'm not going to stand here and tell you God doesn't exist. I'm also not going to stand here and tell you he does. What I am going to tell you is that both of those answers, the religious one and the atheist one, might be too small for what we're actually looking at. Because here's what nobody prepares you for when you study physics deeply enough. The deeper you go, the stranger it gets. Not strange like, that's unusual. Strange like, this should not be possible. Strange like, reality is doing things that reality should not be able to do. Take quantum mechanics. Here's a particle, an electron, say. Where is it? You ask that question, and physics gives you the most insane answer you've ever heard. It's everywhere. It exists in a superposition of all possible locations simultaneously. It doesn't have a definite position until you look at it, until someone observes it. Let that breathe for a moment. The particle doesn't decide where to be until it's observed, which means, in some genuinely disturbing sense, observation participates in creating reality. The universe, at its deepest level, is not a collection of things. It's a collection of possibilities. And something about awareness, something about consciousness, something about the act of looking, collapses those possibilities into the reality you experience. Now ask yourself, what if that's not an accident? What if consciousness isn't something that the universe accidentally produced, the way a factory accidentally produces sparks, but something the universe required, something built into the equation from the beginning? What if the cosmos evolved eyes, because the equation needed to see itself. Let me tell you about fine-tuning, because this is the part that makes even hardcore atheist physicists get uncomfortable. The universe has constants, numbers, physical values that determine the rules of everything, the strength of gravity, the mass of the electron, the cosmological constant, the ratio of electromagnetic force to gravitational force. These numbers are what they are. We didn't choose them. We don't know why they are what they are. But here's the thing, and this is the part that should genuinely disturb you. If any of these constants were even slightly different, the universe would be completely sterile. Change the strength of gravity by 1 part in 10 to the power of 60, that's a 1 followed by 60 zeros, and either the universe collapses in seconds, or it expands so fast that no stars ever form. No stars, no chemistry, no planets, no life, no you. Change the ratio of proton mass to electron mass even slightly. No stable atoms. No stable atoms, no molecules, no chemistry, no life. The numbers sit, all of them, in a window so narrow, so precise that many physicists have used the word miraculous. Not all of them believe in God, most of them don't, but they use that word because there is no other word that fits. Now there are 3 possible responses to this. 1. God set the dials. A divine intelligence chose these numbers because he wanted a universe with stars and chemistry and life and consciousness. 2. There are infinite universes, a multiverse, and we just happen to live in the one where the numbers worked out. We're survivors who can't see the billion dead universes around us. 3. And this is the one that electrifies me most. Maybe the equation has no other solution. Maybe when you dig deep enough into the mathematics of existence, you discover that these constants had to be what they are, that the universe could not have been any other way, that life, consciousness, and wonder were not optional extras, they were mandatory outputs of the deepest equation, that the math didn't just describe the universe, the math is the universe, and it had no choice but to produce us. Now here's where it gets truly personal. You have a brain. Inside that brain, roughly 86 billion neurons are firing in patterns of unimaginable complexity. Right now. And somehow, those electrochemical signals produce this. The experience of being you, the warmth of a memory, the ache of longing, the quiet joy of understanding something new, the feeling, undeniable, intimate, completely private, that you exist. No one has explained this. This is called the hard problem of consciousness, and it is the single most embarrassing open question in all of science. Because we've built particle accelerators the size of cities, we've sequenced the human genome, we've detected gravitational waves from colliding black holes 1 billion light-years away, and yet we cannot explain why there is something it is like to be you. Why you don't just process information like a calculator, silently and darkly. Why there is an inner light. Why experience exists at all. And here is the most fascinating possibility, the one that could rewrite everything. What if consciousness is not a product of physics? What if consciousness is a property of physics, like mass, like charge, like energy? What if awareness, in some primitive elementary form, exists in every particle, every field, every vibration of the quantum foam from which reality is woven? And what if complex structures like brains simply concentrate and organize that awareness into something rich and full and self-reflective? If that's true, and some of the most respected physicists in the world now take this seriously, then the universe is not unconscious matter that accidentally stumbled into awareness. The universe is awareness, and you specifically, are the place where the equation became conscious enough to wonder about itself. That's not nothing, that's everything. Now let's talk about God. Not the God of politics, not the God of exclusion and punishment and fear, the philosophical God, the God that Einstein reached for, the God that mystics in every tradition, from Sufi poets to Zen masters to Christian contemplatives, have described not as a being outside reality, but as the ground of reality itself. The thing that is, not the thing that made what is. What if that's what the deepest physics is approaching? What if every time we peel back another layer of reality and find, again, impossibly again, more mathematics, more order, more breathtaking precision? What if we're approaching something that has no better word than God, except it's not a person? It's a principle, It's the deepest truth of what existence is and how it operates. It's the equation that not only describes reality but is reality. A mathematician named Max Tegmark, a real physicist at MIT, seriously proposes that mathematical structures don't just describe the universe. The universe is a mathematical structure. That physical existence and mathematical existence are the same thing, that there is no universe out there that mathematics happens to describe accurately. Mathematics is the universe all the way down. And if that's right, if reality is pure mathematics at its core, then the question, does God exist, transforms into something entirely different. It becomes, does the equation exist? And the answer to that, quite obviously, undeniably, magnificently, is yes. What about prayer? Here's what I find beautiful rather than dismissive. Your brain is an electromagnetic organ. Your thoughts produce measurable fields. Your intentions alter your neurochemistry. Your neurochemistry alters your behavior. Your behavior alters the physical world around you and the people you interact with. Their brains are also electromagnetic organs, also affected by the fields and signals and presence you bring into a room. When you pray with deep focus and genuine intention, you are, whatever else you might also be doing, you are changing your own physics. You are rewiring your neural pathways. You are shifting the electrochemical balance of your most complex organ. You are altering what you notice, what you pursue, what you create. And through that chain, through the physics of your own being, reality changes. Now, is that the whole story of prayer? Maybe not. Quantum mechanics tells us that observation participates in collapsing possibility into actuality. We don't fully understand the connection between consciousness and the quantum world. There may be depths to prayer that our current physics cannot yet see. But even at the level we can see, prayer is not nothing. Prayer is physics. Prayer is a conscious mind interfacing deliberately with the equation it is made of. And that might be more profound, not less, than the traditional account. Here's where I want to leave you. We are living in the most extraordinary moment in the history of human inquiry. We are the first civilization in all of human history that has the tools, the mathematics, the instruments, the particle accelerators, the telescopes, the quantum computers, to actually probe the deepest questions, not just to ask them, to probe them. And what we're finding every year, every decade, in journal after journal, experiment after experiment, is that reality is far stranger, far more interconnected, far more mysteriously ordered than anyone had dared to imagine. The universe began from essentially nothing, a quantum fluctuation in a void, and produced space, time, energy, matter, chemistry, biology, neurons, consciousness, and eventually beings who build telescopes to look back at the beginning and ask why. That chain, from nothing to wonder, is either the most spectacular accident in all of possibility, or it is the deepest equation doing precisely what it was always going to do. And maybe, there is no difference between those two things. Maybe the most spectacular accident and the deepest divine intention are, at the bottom of the mathematics, the same thing. Maybe what we call God is what the equation looks like from the inside, and what we call the universe is what God looks like from the outside. And we, conscious, wondering, equation-reading, stargazing, prayer-offering we, are the place where the inside and the outside meet. I don't have all the answers. Nobody does. And I would be deeply suspicious of anyone who tells you they do. But I'll tell you this. With everything I have, with every ounce of intellectual honesty I can muster, the universe is not what it looks like. It is far more interesting, far more connected, far more deliberate. And the question of God, the real question, not the political one, not the comfortable one, but the real one, is not settled. It may never be settled. But it is being asked now at a depth that has never been possible before. And the asking itself is one of the most profound things a human being can do, because the universe, whatever it ultimately is, built something that sits in the dark and asks, "What am I?" And that is either the greatest accident ever or the deepest intention imaginable. And I find I cannot fully believe in the accident. We began with a simple, shocking question. What if God is just an equation? And we've traveled together through some of the deepest territory the human mind can enter. We found that the universe is not made of things. It's made of mathematics. That consciousness is not an accident. It may be built into the fabric of reality itself. That prayer is not wishful thinking, it is a mind deliberately interfacing with the physics it's constructed from. That the Big Bang was not a random explosion, it was an equation solving itself with breathtaking precision. That miracles are not necessarily supernatural, they may be physics operating in layers we haven't yet learned to read. And that you, are not a biological accident on a pale blue dot in an indifferent cosmos. You are the universe becoming aware of itself. You are the equation opening its eyes. The honest answer to what is God may not be a name, it may not be a face, it may not be a story from any ancient text. It may be the deepest truth about why something exists rather than nothing, why that something is ordered rather than chaotic, why that order is mathematical, why that mathematics is fine-tuned for complexity, why complexity produces consciousness, and why consciousness asks questions. The chain leads somewhere. Where it leads, that is the greatest question ever asked. And the fact that you are asking it, right now in this moment, means the universe is still through you, trying to know itself. Keep asking. The equation is not finished yet.